In Part 1, I will discuss response and reinforcement, which are two building blocks of the learning theory of the personality. I am starting slowly because most people don't know about learning theory. I introduce the idea of memory structures, which are metaphors for neural networks. The physiology of a response and its motivation associates with the memory structure. Part 2 discusses stimulus, response, and reinforcement, and further develops the use of memory structures. I finished Part 2 by presenting the rationale for basic constructs used in the model. I modified some behavior concepts to fit with clinical experience. Some of these modifications are not consistent with an academic view of learning theory. Everything we feel, think, and do are a series of responses evoked or stimulated from memories in our brain. All responses have a unique memory structure. I use memory structure to describe all responses because it simplifies the complexity of our brain. I define a memory structure as a neural network or a complexion of neural networks. The neural networks or physiology associated with a memory structure can cause a response and provide motivation for the response. There are several sources for motivation: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and generalized reinforcement. The effect of reinforcement for a response amasses in the memory structure. This is a Skinner box. I'm going to show you the relationship between response and reinforcement by using a rat's behavior in a Skinner box. In our example, a hungry rat put in the box eventually presses the bar or lever sticking out of the wall. A food pellet drops into the box in the wall. The rat gets the food pellet, which reinforces the preceding bar press response. The vertical line measures the rate of the bar press responses per minute. The horizontal line is a measure of passing time. A food pellet reinforces the response after each bar press response. A hungry, untrained rat, put in the Skinner box, starts responding at a slow rate of response. As the effects of reinforcement increases the motivation of the response, the bar press response increases to a high rate. Here we see the memory structure of the bar press response and the amassed positive reinforcement. The physiology causing the bar press associates with the memory structure. The reinforcement, the decrease of food deprivation, builds in some way on the memory structure to provide motivation for the response. Stopping the food reinforcement causes extinction of the response. The line on the right of the figure shows the rat is still motivated to respond at a high rate. Frustrated, the rat responds at an even higher rate of response for a while. Then, as the motivation gradually changes on the memory structure, the response rate decreases to a low rate of response. I believe that it is the neutral feeling of the Skinner box, without food, that associates with the memory structure, thereby replacing the effects of food reinforcement. The memory structure after extinction still has the physiology for the bar press, but there is no motivation for the rat to press the bar. The frequency of the occurrence of the bar press response is low. How do we know the physiology for the bar press response is still there? When we make food reinforcement available again, giving a food pellet for every bar press, the rat rapidly increases its rate of response to a high rate. This is called spontaneous recovery. Extinction did not erase the response because the response rate increased more rapidly than in the first session. This suggests that there was an existing memory structure for the bar press. Reinforcing the response after extinction changed the memory structure. It now has both the response and the motivation for the response. The reinforcement of the response reestablishes the motivation for the response on the memory structure. Let's review motivation. Positive reinforcement is any response that causes a decrease of the basic need for food, water, shelter, clothing, or positive social contact. We carry dog treats to reinforce our dog's good behavior. Negative reinforcement occurs when the removal of a threat or painful experience follows the response. Here is an example. A naive rat is put in the Skinner box and given a small continuous shock. The rat presses the bar and the shock goes off for 20 seconds. The offset of the shock reinforces the bar press. Money is the best example of a generalized reinforcer. Money has previously been associated with positive and negative reinforcement. Punishment occurs when the targeted response causes a painful outcome. The response no longer occurs and appears suppressed. Jail time following a crime suppresses the criminal response. The shaping of behavior occurs when you reinforce responses similar to the goal behavior until achieving the goal behavior. This shows that a response associated with a memory structure is not fixed but can be changed. Here are some examples. When all students agree to attend to the teacher when he approaches the corner of the room, in time the teacher will lecture from the corner of the room. Another example is when you put a naive rat into the Skinner box. The rat gradually starts pressing the bar at a higher rate. This is the shaping of the bar press response. Dissociation is a process that makes active conscious memories unconscious. A dissociated active response is not conscious, but is an active response in the unconscious. Dissociation is an active process that associates with a conscious response to make it unconscious. I believe that dissociation is a developmental process learned to move irrelevant or unuseful conscious memories to the unconscious. Here is an example. When you drive 20 minutes and don't remember driving the car, the active driving behaviors were unconscious. Your conscious mind attended to something else. Here's another example. A skilled high jumper works hours to learn the fine points of making the jump. When he jumps in competition, he's not thinking of the fine points. He is doing them, and they are working in the unconscious. Dissociation is a natural process that we use daily in our lives. We are starting to get ready to build a model of the personality. These ellipses are constructs that are convenient to represent the unconscious and conscious active memories. They make it easier to think about unconscious and conscious active memories. Here we are putting the active memories in the two ellipses together in one ellipse. I call this the active experience because this construct represents all active memories. To remove confusion, I put the dissociation process down the middle as a supposed barrier between active unconscious and conscious memories. Don't forget dormant memories. We have been behaving from shortly before birth until now. We have millions of unique memories that have recorded our experience and our behavior. Dormant memories are not active and not involved in creating behavior. It is an important idea used in therapy. Here we are. What is behavior? Behavior is a sequence of memory structures that, when activated, create responses that cause the behavior. All responses have unique memory structures. Responses are created in the active experience from active conscious and unconscious memories. A collage forms to make the response that will give the person more happiness and less pain. Note that all people and personality parts want more happiness and less pain. This is a useful truism in therapy. It is important to watch the slideshows in the correct sequence. Each slideshow prepares the viewer for the following shows. Please continue to Part 2 to learn about stimulus response and reinforcement.